Okay, I think we're recording now. I always wait for the timer. Sometimes it's slow. Where's the
It,
timer? Where's the time? There it is.
it
There it
popped
is.
up and it
Okay.
said it on my side. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good, good. All right. So now we're going, and I'm really excited to have on the program Colin Pink-Hines. And let me just give a quick background of how this started. I was doing an interview with your brother, Chris Hines, who's this prolific animal rights activist out of the UK. And we were talking about this video that you had done with Mel and Steve, where you went into this pig farm. Anyway, we'll get to that. But the whole point was we were like talking about that the whole time. And the questions were like, well, how do you think Colin felt about X or Y? And we're like, well, why you could probably just talk to Colin. So yeah, so
Why not?
yeah. So welcome to the program, Colin.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for what you did. So the backstory is that Colin, until very recently, was non-vegan. His brother's Chris Hines, and he and Mel and Steve, who are these great YouTube activists and animal rights activists, decided to take you into a farm, a pig farm, and show you around. And you were game to do it. So let's just start right there. Like, how did the idea for this come about? Because like, why was it that they decided let's take Colin here?
So I think like it was my brother had always approached me about it. He had mentioned on quite a few occasions about going to do this. And I was always interested in doing it solely for him, and sort of seeing it from his side. And I kind of never really thought that it was going to happen. And then all of a sudden, he's like, okay, we're going for it. Are you ready? Do you want to do it? And I was like, well, yeah, of course. Let's take the jump, take the step, and yeah, it kind of just went from there. Really, next thing I know, we're all together and we're planning it. So it was pretty daunting, but I was open to it all.
Hmm. So this was something that you guys had been planning for a really long time before it happened.
So not necessarily planning it for a really long time. He had just sort of kept mentioning about the fact that he wanted to take me.
Mm,
I think the planning as such was actually really quick. When he sort of found that he had the time and he was like, right, let's just get this done, let's go for it.
hmm.
It all just went so fast. From when I was asked, it was
Yeah.
only really the space of a couple of weeks, and we were going. So it was really quick. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess Chris has, done investigation work for a really long time, so he really knows what he's doing. I'm sure that as someone who is like going into a farm for the first time in that context, you had a little bit of comfort knowing, my brother, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, definitely, 100%, 100%. I mean, I'm the sort of person that sort of take on a challenge anyway.
Hmm.
I'm quite game for those sorts of things. But yeah, knowing that he had done this before, and how showing me how planned he was sort of extra comfort, really.
Oh, I
Um,
see.
um, yeah, it was quite incredible, really, to see the process. When the guys were talking about it, what we're going to do, where we're going to go, how we're going to get in. That was like, okay, wow, this is like, this is like a mission. But
Yeah.
that's what added the confidence, knowing that they had worked it out, really, and I was just sort of along for the ride.
Hmm. So take me, take like without, I know you don't want to get probably into uh all the specifics of like the planning and everything, but take me into like how like intense that felt for you. Because I mean, like sometimes I guess if you're seeing this as like going to be like a mission, you're like, holy
Yeah.
crap, like what am I involved in here?
100%, just like that, just like that. It was literally like we are going on a mission. And the way
Hmm.
we were all dressed up as well. Everybody's got face coverings, like it was a strange thing. It was almost like going to war. It sounds strange, but it was it
Mm.
was like it was really daunting, but very exciting at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, so it was kind of hard. I had to keep telling myself what it was we were going to do, and sort of like prepare myself for that sort of experience. I mean, once we'd actually got there, I don't think there really is any preparing yourself to see something like that. It's pretty disturbing. But yeah, it was like this mission, you know. It was like we're going on this mission to show you something you've never seen. It was exciting, really. It was very, very exciting, the build up to it.
Had you met Mel and Steve prior to that, or was this the first meeting?
No, never met them before. No. I mean, I think we had previously chatted on a support group that we'd sort of set up for each other. But other than that, you know, we were all sort of thrown into it. I think they were thrown into it as well. You know, my brother was like, right, you know, let's go, let's get a team and let's do this, you know. So they were kind of thrown into it as well. It was different.
Yeah. And in this particular pig farm, they had never been to, from my understanding. That's what Chris told me. So this was a new experience for them as well, although they had been activists, and I think they had been vegan and pretty active for like 3 years, I believe.
Yeah. They were very you know, deep in it, should we say? You know, they had been doing a lot of stuff before this. So even actually for me, it was quite a surprise to know that they hadn't been. And like you were saying before about sort of the comfort thing, that kind of added comfort as well, to know that these people, you know, Mel and Steve, have been doing so much, but yet they're about to experience something at the same time. You know, so it was strange.
Did you have a worry? Like, I figure, like, when you're along on a quote unquote mission like this, where you're brand new, I'm guessing like you're thinking the whole time, like, let's absorb everything, let's experience everything. And also, I don't want to be the guy that messes this up, right? You know,
Yeah, oh my
that's
God, yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what was your game plan sort of going in? Was it just like stay near Chris, just listen to Chris? He knows what he's got, he knows what to do. But how did you sort of like mentally prepare? How did you or did you have to like go and mentally prepare for this, and then even like physically prepare?
Yeah, I think like I mean, for the first sort of question, when we were going there, my main sort of thought process really was, I want to help them complete this mission, you know. So I don't know, I kind of had it in my head, okay, you know, I'm just going to listen, I'm just going to do what I'm told, you know, I just want to make sure that we get this, you know, and we complete this. I didn't really have much chance to like contemplate it too much, because the night we met, you know, we were going through so much and going through the plans and, you know, what equipment we were going to be taking. It was all so fast. I didn't really have time to think. And that kind of worked. It kind of worked for me, really. You know, just get him in the deep end, you know, it's just get him in. And I think that sort of took away that opportunity for me to really, you know, sit and mull things over for too long. But I, you know, like I said, I was game from the beginning. You know, I was very much like, you know, let's do this, and I want to make sure that you guys get what you need from this experience. Wasn't really thinking about myself.
Yeah, you ended up having this incredibly powerful experience, though, in both respects. So there's like, it's like a 2-part video. So like the first one, they take you into the pig farm. The second one, they take you to a gas chamber or slaughterhouse. But still going back to like the beginning. So tell me about the butterflies, because I assume in my experience of things like this, like the intensity is always like leading up. Once you're sort of in the moment, to me, it sort of melts away. Is that how it worked out for you?
Yeah, so when we actually pulled up just down the road first. So we kind of scouted before to see where we were going to enter, you know, so we could look at it rather than online. We could see it in person. And then we went and pulled down the road and we parked up down the road. That's when things actually hit me, really. It was like, okay, oh, like this is happening, you know, like we're actually doing this right now. Okay, you know, like, you know, and that's when the adrenaline started pumping. You know, but once we had so we had to cross a cornfield to get where we were going. Once we hit the cornfield, it just went straight into this mission mode. All of that was out the window. You know, I didn't I don't know. I didn't feel any nerves or anything like that. It was just very much like, mission mode. Let's go and do this. It was
Right.
exciting, really, in a way. It was
Yeah.
quite exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, without, telling me like how far, because that might get into specifics of where you were, but sometimes for things like this, you might have to be like parked really far away. So there's also just this like you have to like get in this adrenaline going, but you may actually have to travel on foot quite a ways to
Yeah.
actually get to where you're going. And so
Yeah. It
you
was
can
quite a
even
distance.
well, okay, got you. So so was this like a thing that physically exhausted you by the end, where like you just like out of breath almost? Because like sometimes you're having to move slowly, quickly. What do you
Um,
think?
yeah, I'd say so. Yeah. Yeah. When you
Mhm.
came out the other side of everything, I mean, it was mentally exhausting, physically exhausting.
Yeah,
Um, it was almost like being in another world, really. It was, it was otherworldly. You
yeah,
didn't really know how to feel, where your head was at, what you'd just seen, what you'd just done. It was very dreamlike, very, very dreamlike.
dreamlike.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, and I guess parts of that dream were like nightmarish, of
Yeah.
course.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, this is just like I know Mel and Steve have heaped this praise upon you, but it is deserving that, most people wouldn't do this. And it's very admirable that you took this leap. And yeah, so tell me, were you and Chris close growing up?
When we were younger, really, really
Yeah.
close. Really,
Okay,
really
gotcha.
close. Yeah, yeah. We used to skate together.
Nice. Are
You
you
know,
similar age?
so he's 3 years older than me.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, we used to skate together. We used to hang out together. We're both into the same sort of music, both big animal lovers.
Mm,
I think we had our period apart when we got into later ages. I went off to college, university,
mhm.
things like that, so that kind of distanced us. But we've always been close. We've always been, we've never really distance never changed anything, we've
Right,
always had
right.
the same strong relationship, me and Chris. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just had life happen and,
Yeah,
I see you.
just things.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I've got 2 kids now, that sort of scenario.
I
So,
see.
so
I
life
see.
gets in the way, as we all know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you're really close with Chris. So yeah, another layer of comfort that you had going into this thing. Well, so take me inside this pig farm. I mean, I'm gonna link to this. So for one, people should just watch the video, of course, but take me into like your mindset, like when you like enter the farm, and I know that the first thing that seems to have hit you was the smell.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, 100%. I mean, you could smell it when we got to the cornfield. Before we'd even crossed the cornfield, you could smell it. It was
Wow. Yeah.
extremely strong, very, very potent. And obviously for me, because it's not something I was used to, I hadn't really smelt that before. Um,
Hmm.
I'm thinking this is maybe just manure, excrement, that sort of stuff. But when you actually got to the farm and we were inside, I realized actually there was a lot more than just that. This was
Hmm.
essentially the smell of death as well. But yeah, it was really, really like when we sort of first approached. It's very industrial looking. Quite, I don't know. It's a very, very strange looking place. Really eerie feeling about it. Um,
Hmm.
and obviously we had to climb these fences to get in. But when you actually sort of got inside, like maybe the first part, it's like a maze. There's just avenues everywhere, and everywhere you turn, there's pigs in these dark, dingy, excrement-soaked pens. Really, really, thick air. Do you know what I mean? Like very thick.
Hmm.
But you could just feel it. It was horrendous, really. From the moment you got in there, it was just horrendous. Yeah.
You mentioned it feeling like eerie. Did you also have a feeling of like this place is intimidating, or did you not feel that?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
No, it did feel intimidating. Yeah. I mean, even just the look of it, with the smells, with the sounds.
yeah.
Um, yeah, 100%, 100%. It's very, very freaky, really eerie, freaky, very, it's hard to explain. You can feel the atmosphere of it, you can
Hmm.
really feel it. It almost sticks to you.
Sticks to you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so tell me about the first pigs that you saw. Like, what did you notice?
I mean, so that was literally immediately when we went
Hmm.
through the first gate. There was sort of a row of like concrete pens,
Hmm.
and these pens, no bigger than my living room. So let's just say sort of 12 feet by 12 feet, and the pigs are just packed in them, just absolutely packed in them. They seemed really scared. They were kind of all pushed back into the corners.
Mm.
None of them were sort of towards the front where we were. It's almost like as you walked past them, they sort of cowered into the corners. You
Yeah.
know, you had rats running around your feet instantly. You're walking in manure. It's just dirty, just dirty everywhere. It's everything is just covered in feces, and you know,
Mm.
and the sound of these pigs, and you just see the look of them. They just look scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rats running everywhere, and you can see that on the video. There were some rats scurrying away right
Oh
in
my
the
God, yeah.
beginning.
Yeah, I mean, that's not just in the rooms, they are everywhere. Everywhere you
Wow.
go, they're running over your feet, they're running through the gates, they're running over the walls. They were literally everywhere, thousands of them.
Wow. So, and about how long did you spend on this farm?
So I would say we were in there for probably about an hour,
Okay. That's a
but it
good long time.
felt
Yeah.
a hell of a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
Um, it felt like we were in there for hours, really.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, but I would say about an hour overall.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, yeah,
So
but it was, yeah.
I mean, you really had time to absorb,
Oh,
the
100%.
atmosphere for a long time. This wasn't just a quick in and out, get some
No, no,
photos,
yeah,
get out. Um, so I watched you also did, and I'll link to this as well, but you also did like a podcast with Mel and Steve and Chris,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the other fella's name. Can you
Calvin,
remind me? Calvin, that's right, Calvin.
Calvin,
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't want to
Calvin
mistake
Tasker.
Calvin. Calvin Tasker, who also did a lot. I'm learning more about him. He's done a lot of investigatory work and just incredible work. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna
oh,
link to
he's
all these
incredible.
people, follow all these people on social media and all that. But yeah, and Calvin, and so where was I going with that? Oh shoot, I lost the train of thought. But anyway, so you did this talk with Chris, and I think Chris had mentioned that this was not necessarily like a horrific farm. Like this is sort of like a standard farm.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
he would know since he's been into so many of them. But as you're describing, it's just like incredibly filthy, incredibly dirty.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. There's nothing clean about it. I mean, did you watch the one where we were talking about the clean room?
Yes. Yeah. The
Yeah,
clean room.
yeah, yeah. So that was a prime example of how bad this place was. Really, even the room that we call the clean room. The fact that flies could only survive in there because
Yeah.
the other ones were so bad.
Yeah.
It's just absolute grime everywhere. You're even on the walkways where the farmers would be walking. It's just excrement everywhere, piles of it everywhere, puddles everywhere. It's nothing's clean. It's not
Yeah.
this lovely hay filled, you know,
Hmm.
happy pigs that they try and sell to you. No, it's just literally breed pigs. Let's get them in, get them out, get the next ones. It was grim, really
Yeah.
grim.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the flies too, and yeah, that's another thing you can see in that video is like I think Mel is just like constant,
Yeah, getting
they're
them out of
getting in
our
her
eyes. Yeah,
eyes, and yeah. Um, so yeah, this must have been just like an incredibly intense experience. It's really interesting to me how at the end of part one that you showed a couple days later, being in tears, that you had processed it over a period of a couple of days, and you were like, I really don't know what to say, but I just wanted y'all to see, basically.
yeah,
That really struck me too. Also just like not knowing what to say, like, because what do you say? But yeah, take me through like the couple of days. Like, I guess I'm jumping ahead, but take me after you have done this action. And I guess this was 2 days after the pig farm. And
Yeah.
like, how were you feeling like the day after and then the following day, obviously?
Yeah, so I mean, like in sort of like the initial periods afterwards, again, it was sort of that process time. My brother explained this really well, that you sort of go into this state of sort of self-preservation where
Mm,
your mind almost wants to stop you from thinking about it because it hurts you so much. And it was kind of like that, you know. I was getting these flashback images of things that I'd seen in there, you know, these sort of flashback sounds. And it was almost like this very sort of dreamlike state. I was having moments where my emotions, you know, were sort of in turmoil. I couldn't really understand how I was feeling.
mm,
Um, and I was sort of trying to tell people about it and why I'd experienced and, you know, what I had seen. Um, you know, and yeah, I think my body was kind of protecting myself really. It was only after that couple of days where, you know, it all came out. You know,
right.
all of these sort of emotions that I'd been feeling, it just all came out. Um,
Mm,
and it was instantaneous really. I woke up that morning and you know, I was just in utter turmoil really.
mm,
Yeah, it just hit me. And
wow.
obviously that, you know, you've seen that video. It was extremely hard to film that, but I just thought, you know what, I need to film this because they need it's what we're doing. People need to see this. You know, I need to film it.
Yeah.
And that was obviously the best I got. Yeah, you know, like I said, I didn't know what to say. I didn't. It was just turmoil, utter turmoil, really.
I'm really glad that you had the sense to film that too, just because like that is a very important part of this story. Just like how you process this later. Um,
Yeah,
'Cause, yeah, interestingly, a lot of the activism that we do, and I've actually had this thought myself, like, why am I feeling kind of numb to this? And I've had this discussion with people where I've been at a vigil, like I know you've done now, and I've seen people in tears at the vigil, and I'm like, why am I not feeling it in the same way? And I guess I am.
yeah,
It's just getting buried down. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, it's just taking that time, isn't it, to process what you've seen,
yeah,
and what's going on. You know,
right.
um, yeah, I kind of feel like you go into this, like, you know, protection mode, really,
Hmm.
where if you don't protect yourself, you're just gonna crash. You know, and yeah, it was a very strange place to be mentally. Very, very strange
Yeah,
place. A place I've never been before. You know,
right, right.
yeah,
Well, yeah, just so you know, I'm super terrible about crafting timeline because I'm going to be pinging back and forth, and now I'm going back before the action
that's
even
fine, mate.
happened.
No
But
problem. No
yeah,
problem. Yeah, yeah, no problem,
I'm
my
just
man.
so bad at that.
Mhm.
But I'm really interested how in the beginning of the video when Mel and Steve are doing the talk with you and they're asking, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And you're like, "Yeah, I'm sure." And you had that look like you just sucked on a lemon, like it's like,
Yeah,
"Oh, this is gonna suck," you
yeah,
know?
literally. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
literally that. Yeah,
And then as you've expressed to me, you felt like this is something I had to do. And I'm just interested in this, like, sort of almost 10-year buildup, I guess, when Chris is doing all this activism and you've got this sense like this is something that I should do.
yeah.
Like, where did that come from, do you think?
It's because I've always agreed with Chris.
Yeah.
I've always agreed with him. Like, I mean, he mentioned in the podcast, we've never argued over it. I've always agreed, but then I've always got to that trigger point where I went, no, this is too much now. I can't be like, this is upsetting me.
Mm,
You know, I can't hear anymore. And then you know, it go to the back of my thoughts, you know, it got to the point where I started feeling more and more guilty about my actions, um, and more, you know, I really should look into this. You know, I really should look at this. He is right in what he's saying. So why aren't I listening? You know, why aren't I going to see for myself? Um, yeah, and obviously when the opportunity arose, you know, I always knew I would never say no. I always knew that when that opportunity arose, that I would take the opportunity,
mm,
and I'm glad I did. I just wish I did it sooner. You
mm,
know, I really
yeah.
do. I wish I'd done that many years before. I think it would
Hmm.
have been a completely different ball game. But it's also out of respect for him, when you can see the passion like that in somebody,
Yeah.
especially when it's your family member,
Hmm.
you've got to give them the opportunity to show you. And I was just okay, let's do this. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was yeah. Just felt he deserved it, and I owed it to him.
That's beautiful. Like I really like that it's sort of like a brotherly respect thing too, that you did this. And yeah, like I've been lucky too. Like my family has that same sort of respect, I think, for me and like my activism too. And yeah, it's beautiful to see. Unfortunately, not everybody has the family, like as Chris said, sometimes the family's the hardest.
Yeah,
But this is an interesting dilemma that Chris introduced me to in our talk because yeah, he was describing you as this real animal lover. And
yeah,
and I mean, I knew that showing people films like Earthlings and Dominion is very hard for people. I know that because I always try to get people to watch that stuff. Um, but I hadn't really thought of it in the way that it could be just because they are such animal lovers that they can't engage with this. And I guess, that brings me around to like I consider myself an animal lover. Um, but I've never had like a special fondness for pigs or cows or anything like that. It's always been, my companions and that sort of thing. So the how like I wonder if you have any insight in how to overcome this dilemma where someone loves animals so much that that's the barrier to them getting to engage with the content that would make them vegan.
yeah. I think so. If we're sort of talking about things like Dominion and things like that,
Yeah.
because obviously we've got so many different films, that we can watch, and loads of those films can be extremely gruesome. Um,
Yeah.
Part of me feels that a lot of people are just desensitized to this graphic material. When you see something like Dominion, I mean, I watched Dominion before, obviously this project,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
and Dominion was disturbing. I was absolutely disturbed by Dominion. Did it change me though? And at that point, it
Mm,
didn't change me. And I think that's because it was through a movie screen as such, and I couldn't connect,
mm-hmm.
because once you get those smells and you get those real sounds and you're there, it's a different ball game,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
it's right there in front of you and you can actually touch it. That's a different ball game. And I think, that's where people may find it hard to find that connection when they're watching things like Dominion, because they can't touch it. It's
Right.
almost like it's easy for their brain to make it a fantasy. It's easy
Mm,
for them to tell themselves, well, oh, this must be the worst of the worst of the worst.
mm,
It's so easy then to start making excuses.
yeah.
Um, Obviously, it makes you feel. I think I would like to hope anybody would watch something like Dominion, Pignorant, or anything like that, and feel compassion for the animals.
Right.
Um, and I think then the guilt kicks in, doesn't it? And then obviously they need to
Mm,
find a way to not feel guilty about their
mm,
actions. And when it's
yeah.
just through a screen, I think it's easier to turn off and say, well, I've seen it, I've done it, move on with life. you
Yeah.
know so
Uh,
the experience for me, obviously, having the sights, the smells, even the taste on my tongue of those smells makes
yeah.
all the difference. I think everybody should be taken to these factory farms.
Hmm.
They should be
Hmm.
taken in and shown this is the truth behind it. um,
Yeah.
it would make such a huge difference. It really
I
would.
know. I
um,
know.
but then people work different ways, don't they? Um, some people, they go to the factory farm, and that would change them. Some people will watch Dominion, and that will change them.
Hmm.
I think everybody works differently, so it's sort of finding the best for everybody to try and connect with everybody, on that level, and get everybody to see the truth behind, what's going
Yeah.
on.
Your psychology is very fascinating to me because, like, I was thinking, like, even getting to someone to watching Dominion Earthlings would be the difficult thing, but you said that you had already engaged with that content.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and so being an animal lover, and you had this sort of like artificial barrier between, almost like between you and Chris, like like you loved Chris, but like there was this barrier of like, I can't, like, maybe what was it? Did it seem like it was too hard to deal with the guilt of like, I've done this my whole life? Or was it just like, this is going to be too hard or something?
Yeah, I think it was kind of a mixture of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It was, yes, definitely a mixture of both, because there's many things that, obviously he had shown me, conversations that we had that would instantly bring on the guilt for the choices that I was making. And then, there was this whole feeling of, oh, well, how would I do it anyway? How am I going to be vegan? It's going to be so hard. I'm going to have to change this. I'm going to have to change that. I'm going to have to get rid of this. I'm going to have to get rid of that. Obviously, now I found out how easy it truly is. Incredibly, it's incredibly easy.
Yeah, it's
nothing. I don't know why anybody would even think that it's hard, because it's not. Different story, anyway. It's and the food's amazing. It's really hard to explain. Yeah, it's really hard to explain. I mean, we spoke about part of this in the podcast. And they asked me about sort of like the preachy side of it and whether I saw it as preachy. And I didn't really see it as preachy. I just don't think I saw the true passion. I think it took me a long time to see the true reason why he is so desperate for me to see. And obviously now I know, obviously I'm desperate for other people to see. And for everybody to see. I think it's so easy just to turn away when it gets hard,
Well, not throwing shade on Chris, of course, but do you think that means that he was trying to approach it too delicately for you? Should he have gone harder? Should he have really like grabbed you by the sides and been like, Colin, please, I need you to.
Well, I think I think that he was pretty tough with it anyway. But then I also think that when you want somebody to change and you want them to see it, you could shake them up and say, you have to, you need to. But I feel it would be better if they make their own decision. If you give them the information and then it sinks in and they make their own decision, I believe they're gonna have a stronger connection to what it is that they believe. Some people might need shaking up. I think most people probably need the education. The amount of people I've spoken to since obviously I've become vegan, and I think the majority of people would be vegan. I really do. I think most of them want to be vegan. It's just educating, getting the education around, I think that's the biggest part, and trying to be as respectful to the individual as well that you're speaking to, trying to be as respectful as you can, but also not leaving out anything, show them the hard truth.
Well, sorry. Cliff Grant, I think we've talked a lot about Cliff Grant and his approach. He's this great street activist. And I think that one of the good things that Cliff always makes sure he does every time he has these conversations with people is like, I'm not judging you. I used to participate in this too. I think that may be one of the things that when someone's having like an outreach conversation is that they feel like put on, like, oh, this person thinks I'm a piece of shit, or like, and that's not the case. Like it may be the case depending on how they react to
well, this is it, isn't it? I think it's based on the individual. I mean, some of the videos, I mean, Mel, she's amazing. I love her. Some of the videos I've watched, I'm just there like, go Mel, get them. Do you know what I mean? Get them, kill them. So there's it is very much based on the individual. It's obviously you've got to try and build that connection. I mean, you've got to try and build that connection with the person. Once you've got that connection, actually, but this is something Chris taught me. Once you've got that connection and you can create that conversation, then you can start working with it, start putting in the hard facts, start putting in the truths, and go from there. But I would say, the more amicable, you could leave the conversation with somebody I think it's better because it's going to lead them to think, and they're not going to feel judged. Essentially, they're just going to feel like, well, actually, no, I should think about this.
Right.
But
Right.
again, it's individualized, to each person. I think that's what worked for me with Chris, because he was always very respectful with the way that he put things across. He would hit me with the hard stuff, and leave me to think about it.
Yeah. And it
that
sounds
worked.
to yeah, it sounds to me like taking you onto the farm and to the slaughterhouse was perhaps the only thing that could have done it with you.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, part of me does feel that I was heading down that road anyway, but a lot of people would say, oh, family life and work and all this sorts of things.
Right.
Would I have put those things first? Possibly. So I think the kick in the arse and the let's just do this was the deciding factor. I think me personally, I needed that. I needed to see it face to face.
Well, you mentioned that you had watched Dominion already. So you said you're sort of on this path already. So was that recent that you watched that and you were starting to engage more with the content and that sort of thing?
I watched Dominion pretty much when it came out. So this is quite a while before. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, my brother sent me so many different documentaries, animal rights videos. Obviously, he posts his own. So I've seen hundreds.
Wow.
And yeah, as I think the more I was engaging with it, the more my subconscious is going, well, hang on, don't you think you should be making a change now? Don't you think it's time that you go with your heart, with your gut feeling? And then obviously, that project come up, and then that was it, really. Game changer. It was from the start to the finish, absolute game changer. I mean, I couldn't even imagine going near meat now, dairy or any of that. I couldn't imagine any animal products in my life.
Yeah, same. After you've sort of like seen it, it's just like, no, I'm not going to see that milk anymore, that piece of cheese.
No
I'm going to see the suffering.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, it's disgusting. It really is disgusting how we're treating them.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, the dairy industry as well. I mean, obviously before it was about the meat industry. The more I've learned about the dairy industry, Jesus Christ, man, that is horrific.
In many ways it's worse because there's all this exploitation that happens before, just the fattening up for killing. So, I mean, you're relatively new to all this, but you've dove right in. You got, you went vegan, you've gone into animal rights activism. So all this is so fresh and new for you, which is very informative because, I mean, you start to hear all the same, probably everything that you're hearing now, you're going to hear about 1 billion more times. For instance, when you're doing street outreach, you've already touched on one that is interesting where it's people will ask you, don't you miss meat? Don't you miss cheese? And you're like, hell no, I don't.
I don't. I really, really don't. There's amazing vegan cheeses out there for one.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just the other day. It was my son's birthday. And I got on a conversation with a few guys about vegan cheese, funnily enough. They weren't vegans, but I got on a conversation with them. And I said, do you want to try some? And they loved it.
Oh,
They were shocked. They couldn't believe that it was that nice. And I said, there you go. And I was like, at the end of the day, everything that you can get animal based, we've got vegan based. It wasn't like it was when my brother first started.
Right.
It's different now. It's extremely easy to get everything you could possibly want. And in fact, it's actually better. The food I'm eating now compared to how I was eating before. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, within, how long has it been now? Maybe 5 or 6 months. I feel so much healthier, and thinking about the animals that I'm essentially saving, and even not just the animals, the planet as well, I think veganism is just a win subject. There's no losing to be vegan. It's beneficial to you, to the animals, to the world. It's
Right. And I don't know if you feel this, but I feel this when, you know, when you're vegan now, and because we're such a small percentage of the population, we're powerful. Like just being vegan is already sort of like you're a walking billboard, basically, you
100%.
know?
Yeah,
You
a
know, so
hundred percent.
yeah, you have this impact on people. And you know, you might experience this too, Colin, that you're going to have impacts on people that you didn't even know you had. And then somebody's going to come to you like years later and say, you know, I was watching your videos, or I was doing this, and it really inspired me. And
Yeah.
those moments always feel really good.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I've had a few moments like that already. I've had some
yeah.
really incredible messages from old friends that I haven't spoken to for a long time. You
Mm,
know, saying, you know, these videos are really hitting me, and I'm going to start thinking about changing my lifestyle.
yeah.
I had a colleague that works for the same business as I do, but
Mm,
she's in a different sector. Just last week, come up to me and say, "Colin, I watched your videos. I'm going vegan. I'm turning vegan." And I was just like, "Well, wow!" I was like, "This is incredible." I've
yeah.
also got another colleague that has just come back to work with me in my sector, and he's going vegan solely from our conversations
Amazing.
and watching these videos. You know, so there's big changes even in my small circle.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of the guys at work now, we're all drinking oat milk, we're all drinking soy milk. You
Nice.
know,
Nice. Yeah.
you know, it's, and even though I've not really said anything, I can see that it's happening. All of a
Right.
sudden, the fridge at work is filled with soy and oat milk. It wasn't like that before. So,
Nice.
you know, was that me? I don't know. You know, is that just, you
Uh-huh.
know,
Uh-huh.
but it seems to be. It could well be. Yeah.
Well, just speaking about social media, like you're in this like real amazing time frame right now, because like if you're like me, and I love that people follow me who are vegans, animal rights people, but I'm starting to think that that's going to be the vast majority of the people that are following me on social media now, which means that my impact is getting less and less,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
I see what you're saying. I
So,
see what you're saying. Yeah, you
yes,
want non-vegans to be following you. That's what you need. Yeah. People
exactly.
are
So
reading
you're
them.
Yeah, so you're in that really fruitful period right now where you've got a lot of people in your circle who are going to be non-vegan, and it sounds like your personality, you're always going to have that because you're a very welcoming, kind. It seems like I've just spoken to you this once, but
Thank you.
it seems that way. So yeah, you'll always be a great ambassador for this, like at the very least. And it sounds like you're really diving in, getting into all kinds of like activism. Sounds like you've so I noticed like you had made a reel the other day, used that System of a Down, and your
Yeah.
brother had shared it, and that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
great. And so you're really getting into it. You've got all that energy, all that
Yeah,
energy.
I've got some plans. I'm not going to share them.
Okay.
I've
Okay,
shared them
great.
with my brother.
Nice.
I do have a plan, and hopefully, I have a little group coming together
Oh,
down this way.
nice.
We've been
Wonderful.
talking about it slowly, catchy monkey, should we say?
Hmm.
But yeah, I definitely want to start getting out. I want to start doing some outreach work. I've got a couple of guys. One who is interested in the sort of camera side of it, and another guy that is funnily enough I work with, who is just genuinely interested in getting in that side of things. He's never done anything like that, and I think actually that could be a really good combination because it's new to me and it's new to him.
Yeah.
So I've got a little bit of a plan. I got some props that I need to sort out,
Hmm.
and then we'll go from there. But hopefully
Well,
soon.
well, mm, you didn't ask me for advice, but I'll give you advice, and that is to just do it. Just try everything. Like because yeah, your brother being the second conversation in a row I had with someone who made a film, and both of them, it was their first film, basically, like the feature film that they've made. And they had to just dive in and just give it a go. And like even so Chris Cooney, who's the vegan zombie, who's made a vegan zombie movie, he was describing for me some of the early videos he was making on his YouTube where they had like tons of people around, and he was saying, he was like, I don't know what I'm doing, just pretend like I know what I'm doing, and then it worked out fine. So yeah, that's great, like starting like a team of people who are kind of new to it, and then you can always lean on your brother for advice and that
Yeah.
sort of thing too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not computer lit at all. You know, when it comes
Oh
to
yeah.
computer stuff, I am terrible. You know, so I'm definitely going to need him. But
Yeah.
he's given me some really good pointers already. You know,
Yeah.
of sort of how to go about it. So yeah, I just need to put it together, really, this idea that I've got. And then
Right.
we're going to go up to one of the local cities and we're just going to give it a go.
Yeah.
But hopefully that's going to be soon.
And a lot of it is like emulation too. Like you'll see, like after our conversation, one of the things I'll do in the next few days is try to take 60 seconds from our conversation, create a nice clip to promote the conversation with. I don't know if they really do well, but they're interesting. And I think they're good content. And also that's brand new to me. Like I never used to do video work. And so I've had to learn that. And all that stuff starts to come, you know, you make like a shitty video at the beginning and it starts to get better and better.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, but your
I mean,
first
the time
video
I
was,
worked on that System of a Down one, Jesus, I was there for ages, dude. It took me all day just to put that together, you know.
I know it's a lot of work and people don't realize like how much work goes into a lot of this stuff. It doesn't just come together. Like you end up having to do everything that you didn't even think about, you know, like
Yeah,
all the
exactly.
steps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Like the timing of everything and trying to get oh God, man.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, Instagram
timing.
made it easy for me, but you know, still for
Right, right.
someone who's never done one, you know, oh yeah, it
It's a
was hard
ton of
work.
steps, ton of
Yeah,
steps.
yeah.
Yeah, and then if you make the mistake like I do sometimes to gather feedback from your friends, oh, then you're going to be working even more hard because they're going
Yeah,
to tell you all the
yeah.
things that are wrong.
But so far, no one's given me any. Everyone's gone, great video, great video. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
well, that's cool, that's fine. I'm happy with that.
nice, nice. Yeah, you just keep it that way.
Yeah,
I always tell
hopefully.
my buddies, I'm like, you want to give me some feedback, and by feedback, I mean, do you want to praise my video for?
Yeah, do you just want to be nice and just praise it all? Yeah. Don't
Yeah,
say anything bad, please.
exactly. Well, so okay, so let's jump back into the pig farm. We've given people a breather outside of the pig farm, but we're going to take you right back in there. Sorry.
That's all
um,
good.
yeah, but so I know you talked about this on the podcast, and you described this moment where you felt this anger. Like you did have this like moment where you were looking around, you felt just like kind of a maybe an intense anger you felt in that moment. But take me into your mindset in that moment.
Yeah. So when we were first obviously when you're going through the farm, you need to see which rooms are open. And
Yeah.
nobody's got a clue which ones are going to be open.
Yeah.
So we're sort of we're weaving in and out of these alleyways, and then we come to this really old looking barn door.
Hmm.
And my brother said to me, he said, "Oh, this one's open." He kind of peeked around the corner a little bit, and he said, "Okay, Colin, you know, are you ready to go in?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, let's go." And that's the one in the video when we walk through and the rats are running out of the food troughs.
Hmm.
The second I looked into that room, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was hell, literally hell. The stench hit you. You could see the dead bodies of babies, the rats running everywhere. It's really hard to describe how hard that hit me when we went in there. And at first, I was just telling myself, okay, you know, take this in. Really look, you know, really try and take in what you're looking at here. And obviously the guys were, you know, amazing. They were checking on me, making sure I was okay. And then it was when my brother sort of started talking to me, it was almost immediately, really. The second he started talking to me and I was kind of brought out of myself and into the room again. It was that point really when he was telling me about, you know, this is what they do. This is a day-to-day things. The pigs are going to be in there for, you know, 5 to 6 weeks. And it just flushed over me, just instant anger that this was even allowed, you know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
how is this even possible? You
Yeah.
know, and there was the check sheets hanging up there as well, which tells you how many babies they've had, how many ones have died.
Yeah.
And it was seeing all that and then, you know, knowing someone's doing this, someone's coming in and doing this.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just this, you know, it's not just a room where no human ever enters. Like someone is coming in this place day to day and
Yeah.
is okay with it. They're okay with this scenario. And I
Yeah.
just, anger, really, just straight anger.
Yeah.
Um,
Because you've entered this place in the middle of the night, it's like, oh, like we're dipping in to see what is happening. But like you said, yeah, somebody goes there in the morning or whenever and sees all these dead bodies around and just goes up to a sheet and we got
yeah,
nine of them today, and that's part of their job. And then they're just like, okay, we'll throw them in the bin, and then yeah, we'll mark that down. It's just
yeah,
unbelievable that that's
yeah,
someone's life.
yeah. And then they're just going back and checking what profits they lost, probably.
Right,
Well,
right.
how much profits have we left off have we lost off the dead today? And
Yeah,
it's just so disgusting. It's horrendous to think that
yeah,
anybody can do that.
yeah. And it's really interesting the dynamics between Chris and you, because as Chris described, he's like, when he goes into these places, having been into them so many times, he really he has to disassociate from what's happening. So he was really kind of like you said, kind of going through the checklist of like, here's how long they're going to be in here. He's like telling you what what their life is going to be like.
Yeah,
But he's trying to not feel it, but you're feeling all this stuff for the
yeah,
first time.
yeah. I mean, it was a whirlwind. It really was a whirlwind. And it was taking that time to sort of go to each pig as well. You sort of, it was this feeling of I need to see all of you. You
Mm,
know, you wanted to leave, but you didn't want to leave because it's like this is almost the only bit of love, care that you're going to get
mm,
is us being in here and trying to show the world you essentially.
right.
Um, yeah, it was a really really hard situation to be in, an extremely
Yeah.
hard situation to be in. You're so torn about what you want to do. You almost want to burn the farm down.
Right.
It's you
Yeah.
it's you feel like you want to just go and find the farmer and kick off, but you can't, you can't. The only thing you've got to do is you've got to get this footage, get out, and you've got to show people.
Hmm,
Um,
hmm.
Really hard, yeah, really really hard. That room was incredibly heavy on every sense, on every level. Yeah,
Yeah. There must be this feeling of powerlessness, when you feel like you've got all these beings, and they're basically, they want to be free. They want you to take them out, but you've got your camera. And that's the mission. That's the
yeah,
job. So
yeah,
this wasn't a rescue mission. This was a footage, and to
yeah,
experience. So yeah, and so this feeling of powerlessness too, I feel like I saw that etched on your face too when you were at the slaughterhouse. So jumping ahead to, they took you to a slaughterhouse vigil, and there was this shot of you that they stayed on you when one of the trucks was riding into the slaughterhouse, and the shot just stayed on you for a little while you were standing there, kind of like with your own thoughts as they drove off. And there was a lot going on with you in that moment. I know, because that was like right before the shot where Mel is talking to you and you guys are sat down.
yeah,
Um, and wow, you were feeling it big in that moment.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I mean, we had watched so many pigs go through at that point. Um,
yeah,
and every single truck is breaking your heart. I mean, every single individual on the truck. I mean, there's so many of them on there. That's one thing I never really knew. It's just each truck's got hundreds and hundreds of them all crammed on there. And we're
yeah,
watching thousands and thousands of pigs go through into this place. And
right.
I'm stood there knowing, within the hour you're dead. All of you are dead within the hour, and it's yeah, it is helplessness. It's absolute helplessness. A little short of, like I said, burning the place down. It's like, what can you
Hmm.
do? What can I do? I
Yeah,
want to do something, but what can I do? You just don't know. You just don't know where to start.
yeah. You're meeting like condemned people, basically, like they're
Yeah, hundred
condemned,
percent,
to
hundred
die.
percent.
Yeah, and you get these little quick snippets, these little moments where you might have an experience with them where they experience like their only bit of kindness
Yeah.
in the entire world, and they can't even, and they may not even be in the position to process that as kindness, like, because
No, no, no.
it's just horrible. Yeah.
Even sunlight as well, thinking that's the first time that they've probably seen sunlight.
Right.
And they are now going to die, and this is
Right.
it. This is the first time they have got fresh air. They're not just
Mhm.
breathing in this disgusting putrid air.
Right.
They can stick their snout out and get fresh air. It must be really it must be a horrible situation for them to be in, because you imagine how nice for them that fresh air smells.
Oh man. Yeah.
And then they're also there knowing that they're about to go somewhere,
Yeah.
that is not going to be nice. And the emotions they must be going through,
Yeah.
you just can't imagine it. You can't imagine what they are going through at that point.
Well, I'm sure you have felt, just being in there in the pig farm for an hour, how much relief you must have felt when you could breathe clean
Yeah,
air again.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're thinking that that's their moment of relief
Right.
before they suffer to death in a gas
Right.
chamber.
Yeah. And I've seen enough slaughterhouse footage to know, like, that, how they're just kind of herded around. Someone's there beating them, making sure they get moving, and they're just, yeah, it's just this horrible ending,
Yeah.
And when people talk about like having one bad day, I don't know if you've heard that. People use that phrase to you, one bad day. I hear that a lot because they'll be talking about the free range animal who was treated so kindly, which of course is a myth. But,
Yeah.
but they'll talk about this one bad day, and uh, but this one bad day is so bad. It's so bad. It's
Yeah.
not just a bad day. It's not like you had to go to the DMV or some shit.
No, exactly. And the thing is that, like my brother says, like, they could be on the nicest of farms and all that sort of thing. They're
Right.
still going to the slaughterhouse at the end, and they don't want to die.
Right.
Then they don't even get to live their life expectancy. Most of these pigs, their babies are 6 months old. They can live up to 15 years.
Right.
6 months old. It's.
Have you, in your last, like, I guess 5-6 months now, have you started to do any stuff like where you visited like a sanctuary and hang out with nice animals and happy animals?
We've actually got a sanctuary that's near us called Kuna Matata.
Oh.
So yeah, whenever I get the chance, I take the kids up there. They absolutely love it.
Oh,
They
nice.
really
Yeah.
love it. Yeah. But we're also going to stay at the base retreat, which is where the podcast was filmed.
Oh, okay.
So we're actually going up there as well to take the kids up there, so they can sort of spend a bit of time there. I would like to do more work, like with Hakuna Matata, but my job is a lot. I work in the care system, you see, so it's actually really hard for me to be able to find time with the kids, with them. But any fundraisers and stuff, when they need donations of money and things, I'm on it. The amount of times I donate to those guys.
What kind of work do you do, if you don't mind me asking?
I work in the care sector, so I work with adults with autism, Down syndrome,
okay.
Asperger's, a big mix, that sort of scenario.
I see. So you're someone who's always sort of cared for people and other beings, like just Chris described you as an animal lover. So it sounds like, it sounds like your whole life almost has been about this sort of thing. This very natural transition to doing animal rights stuff, it sounds like.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously, I don't know whether he told you that I used to work in an animal shop.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
He never tell you about that. So I actually used to work in an animal shop. It was
oh no, he did the reptile shop, right?
Yes, the reptile shop.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I used to work in the reptile shop. And my whole thesis with that now is laughable, because when I used to go to these shops, the information they were giving to people, I used to sit back and go, you really don't know what you're talking about. You're giving the wrong information about how to look after these animals. So what better thing can I do than to get in the shop and start giving the right information? But I didn't think, did I? I'm selling animals.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, I
Right.
just didn't think at the time it was like I'm doing good. You
Mm.
know, this is the best thing I could be doing because I'm helping all these animals to make sure that they get the best homes. But
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm not there 24 hours a day to watch and
Hmm.
make sure that these people are taking care of them and feeding
Right.
them and giving them the water the way that I would take care of them. You know,
Hmm.
and I'm also breeding animals like
Right.
snakes and lizards. You know,
Right.
I'm doing essentially what the farms are doing.
Yeah.
I'm breeding these animals into existence to make money off them.
Right.
You
But at
know,
the time, you just didn't have that concept.
at the
Yeah.
time, I'm thinking I'm doing good. You know, I'm
Hmm.
doing good here. I'm making sure these animals have got the best equipment and they're going to have the best homes and they're going to be taken care of and everybody's got the right information. And it was after my brother really had a good conversation with me about it. I kind of had my own setup home here, and I used to breed tarantulas.
Mm.
It's a very well-known tarantula breeder down in this
Mm.
area, and it was him really that sort of said, you know, you do realize what you're doing here. You know, I know you love these animals, but you know you're breeding them and just you're making money out of them. And
Hmm.
it took me a while for it to settle in, but eventually I went, damn,
Mm.
damn, this isn't right. I love these animals, but it ain't right. I shouldn't be doing this.
Hmm.
And it's all closed. I closed it all down. I will only
Oh,
take
wow.
rescue animals now. If an
Right.
animal comes from a sanctuary or you know needs rescuing, and I can offer that, then I will do that. But as for you know the pet trading things, I don't support it at all anymore. I'm
Hmm.
against it. You know,
Hmm.
um, it's it's just another means of making money and exploitation, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
so and I don't want to be a part of that.
It sounds like you're just, you speak like a veteran now, you know what you're talking about. You seem to have really done the homework. I mean, I know you've had plenty of conversations with Chris over the years, but what is the sort of stuff that you've done over the last like 5 months or so to like really like bone up on the information?
So just research. I am just watching everything, absolutely
Mm.
everything. I have obviously the guys are really supportive. They send me different things to watch. My brother will send me things to watch. But I mean, every day I am watching different things, different you know types of activism, different
Mm.
talks. Obviously, looking more into the food side of things. I mean, I love cooking, so it's nice, you know, to
Mm.
look into that. Yeah, I'm just feeling the same when I was learning about tarantulas. You know, I would do the research and oh, there's this one, there's that one, there's this one, there's that. I'm kind of doing the same thing. I'm just
Mm.
flooding myself with information.
Interesting. So
You know?
you're like that type of person who like when you're into something, you'll go all the way in and you become like a sponge and just trying to
Yeah,
soak it
yeah,
all up.
100%. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, it's also to do with the activism as well. I feel that when I go and do activism, I want to be prepared and I want to have the right knowledge.
Hmm.
Um, so I feel the more research I can do now before I jump into doing this activism, you know, on the streets and that sort of thing, the better prepared I can put across the
Yeah.
information that I want to share with people.
Yeah.
Um, of course, until you're out there and you're doing it, you know, that's going to be the real telltale.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but right now, yeah, I just want to learn as much as humanly possible so I can give the
Hmm.
right information to people when I'm talking to people.
That's a really good approach. Another thing, like say you get out there and, you know, telling someone I don't know is also perfectly valid. Like if they
Yeah,
ask you something, you can say like, to be honest, I don't really know. Um, but and then I think they appreciate that honesty. If they stump you with something, I don't know what it would be. Because at this point, it sounds to me like you're pretty well educated about what's happening. And if they try to talk to you about some scientific thing that you can't answer, that's where I feel like as activists, we're super valid in saying, listen, I'm not a doctor, I'm not
yeah,
a climate researcher, but you
exactly.
can
I
go
don't
and
need to know that. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
but there's all these sources that you can go to, that sort of thing. But yeah, when we have someone who's now been to a farm and a slaughterhouse, and you can really direct people to that experience and be like, listen, like if they're talking to you about the climate, be like, what? Let's assume like eating animals was great for the climate. Look, I've been to these places. They're hellholes. Like, why would you want that anyway?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
we know they're climate disasters. So
100%. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make a blind bit of difference, is it? It's an intelligent being that's suffering,
right, right.
and needlessly. I mean, I'm learning a lot about food, and I think the reason why I want to do that as well is because people can connect with food,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and with the food side of things, there's a lot of times where I've had conversation with colleagues and friends and things like that. Second, I get them onto the conversation of the food side of it, all of a sudden they want to know, because everybody loves food.
they do.
Right?
Yeah,
Everybody loves food. So if
yeah,
I can show them that actually you can eat great food and save animals at the same time, like, does
right,
that not sound amazing?
right.
You
I
know?
think, yeah. I mean, because I've had this like where I mean the number of bad meals that I've had as a vegan are really small. I could
Oh,
probably count them on one or two hands, in all these years. But I still felt good about those meals because
yeah,
like I knew that they were good for animals. So like even if it tasted like shit to me, I was like, look, it was still the right thing. So like
yeah.
you never have like a bad meal again, honestly, in that
I mean,
respect.
I would say I'm extremely lucky because I am yet to come across a bad meal.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, nice.
there's ones I prefer over others.
Sure. Yeah.
But everything that I've tried, and everything that I've been making has been delicious. It's all been
Yeah.
very healthy,
Mhm.
balanced. Yeah, no, I really enjoy it. I actually really enjoy the food side of it. I think it's kind of nice to get experimental as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, I'm eating a million times better than I was before. I mean,
Right,
before
right.
eating
Well, I
crap.
think that's one of the mental barriers that people have is they imagine, oh, what about Christmas and Easter and all these holidays where we all gather around the table and now I'm like that person who can't take part. Well, like if you have a supportive enough family or if you're kind and compassionate enough of a person to approach it in a certain way, all of a sudden we're making our old dishes vegan,
Yeah.
and like, yeah, it's a
Well,
so tell me, yeah, go ahead.
sorry, when it came to Christmas, funnily enough, I only had to change two ingredients.
Hmm.
That was it.
Eggs, right?
No,
Eggs.
we never used eggs anyway. So the
Oh,
only thing
okay.
I had to change was butter and the meat. So I
Yeah,
had nut loaf and I used vegan butter. That was it. Everything else that was used within there was already vegan.
right. And
So it
it's
was so easy. There was no big changes or anything like that. I wasn't missing out. I had the same as everybody else,
mhm,
so
mhm.
it was incredibly easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the reality of the situation that people can't kind of wrap their heads around
No,
how
yeah.
easy it is. It's because it does seem big. Yeah, before you've gone vegan, it seems way bigger than it is, but it really is just this as simple as I'm not getting this, I'm getting that. That's it.
100%. Yeah,
That's all it
100%.
is.
Rather than go down that aisle, I'm going to go down that aisle, and I'm
Right.
going to get those instead of those. That's
Right.
it.
Right.
And then, and again, and rather than basing my meal around the piece of meat that I would usually have, well, I'm going to base my meal around the parts that go with it. So I'm going to focus on making the salad more substantial. I'm going to focus on making the jacket potato more substantial, and then
Mhm.
I'm going to add my parts to that. Because before
Mhm.
it was very much, well, what meat are we having, and then I'll decide what we're going to cook with it. But
Mhm.
now it's very much, well, what we're having. There's no meat to think about. It's I'm going to have falafel, and do a
Mhm.
big juicy salad with it, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's so much better. It's so much nicer and healthier. Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, well, tell me a little bit about how you feel because you mentioned feeling good and healthy. So we'll caution that this is anecdotal, but what has been your experience in the last 5 months?
Energy levels shot up.
Mm,
I don't feel like I need as much sleep. The nonsense about brain fog, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have any brain fog or anything like that. I feel healthy. I feel energetic. I feel my skin's better. Um, yeah, I can't complain at all. I feel great. Yeah, I really
Yeah.
do feel great. I haven't had any issues as I'm not losing any dramatic weight or, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I feel less bloated. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, much less bloated. Um, a friend of mine at work who's vegan actually put it better. He feels lighter, and actually
Oh
that
yeah.
makes complete sense. I do. I feel lighter in all aspects. You know,
Yeah.
yeah. You just feel
Agile.
more. Yeah, you just feel. I don't know. You feel great. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
nothing bad about it. It's really healthy, lovely.
Yeah, same. And I mean, that even like there are times, so I'm kind of like a junk food vegan. Like I'll eat a lot of crap. Okay, I just admit that. A lot of crap. But even during those times when I'm like less health focused and eating a lot of shitty food, we'll be like about to do some like big hike or something out in the mountains. And I'm like, guys, I'm not in the best shape right now, just so you know. But then it'll be just fine, even though I'm eating like my version of junk, and
Yeah,
then I can do like, 12-mile, 13-mile hikes. It's just fine. And yeah, like obviously I should be more healthy, like, but
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
the thing is, it's all there, and there's healthy food and junk food in every aspect of eating, isn't there?
yeah,
So
exactly.
I mean, a lot of people keep going on about the Impossible Burgers being kind of this junk food side of veganism.
Right,
I don't necessarily agree with that, because what do you put with your burger? That's the question you want to ask. I mean,
right,
your burger's kind of only supplementing that very small portion of the meal. So
right,
as long as
right,
you've got like a nice big salad, get some gherkins in there, that's really fancy it up, well, then it's healthy, isn't it?
right, right.
It's if you're taking your burger, slapping it and deep fat frying it in some batter,
Yeah,
then obviously it's different, So yeah, it's all what you're supplementing on the side of it, really.
right. And you're not getting cholesterol. So like, yeah, I
100%, yeah,
mean, yeah, the Impossible Burger isn't meant to be a health food, but I see it as definitely healthier than the meat burger.
yeah,
So yeah, so I mean, yeah, people are just like really getting a lot of misinformation, and
100%, yeah,
yeah,
100%. I
they're
mean,
doing a lot.
nutritional value, go and look at it. People, it's obviously better. Yeah,
Right,
it's proven. We already know that it's healthier than the slab of meat.
right,
We know that.
right,
But it's also a good stepping stone, isn't it? For meat eaters that love their burgers and things like that, and they don't want to go vegan because they're not going to be able to eat their burger. Well, try the Impossible Burger.
yeah, yeah,
It's lush. There's nothing
right,
wrong with it. It's
right,
still healthy for you. It's healthier than eating a normal burger.
right, and they're still improving. Like these
100%. Yeah.
these products are evolving. Like the Beyond Burger, for instance, has already gone through several iterations, and the most recent one was that they swapped over to avocado oil to make it healthier. So they're also getting tastier and healthier, and they can keep improving it. Whereas the beef is going to be the beef,
It's going to
whether
stay the beef, and it's going
yeah,
to clog your arteries, and it's going to destroy your heart.
yeah,
they,
exactly.
they ain't changing that. If you're putting it in your body, it's clogging you up. Simple.
Right. It's clogging you up, and it's killing a innocent animal who didn't deserve that, hadn't,
Yeah, 100%.
hadn't
There's so many things that go. That's funny because people talk about processed, and they, oh, the food's
yeah,
so highly processed. Well, do you realize how processed your meat is? What your
right.
meat goes through before it gets to you is way more processed than a Beyond Burger.
Right, right. And plus they're probably, being fed whatever processed food too that you're
Oh
afraid
God,
of. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, grass fed,
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
grass
Sorry.
fed. Yeah,
Sorry.
get
It's
it
fine.
right.
It's fine
Grass
now.
fed.
Yeah.
The finest grass. Yeah,
Yeah,
gold plated, perfect grass.
yeah. Well, so we've talked less about the slaughterhouse that you went to, but that's a pretty intense experience that you had early on, because this is one where you could actually hear. It sounded like you could hear the gas chamber from outside. So take me into your experience there.
Yeah. So when we were at the front, and obviously all the pigs were coming in, it was really quite noisy there with the trucks coming in. There was people at the gate sort of talking. Obviously there was discussions between the other activists and things that were there. So you couldn't really hear much going on. But then we went around to the back. We sort of took a road around to the back. Um, And at first, I couldn't quite work out what I was hearing. Um, and I said to Calvin there, I said, I think I can hear the gas chamber. And he was like, well, what is it you hear? I said, it just sounds like this sort of old, rusty, rotating carousel. And he's like, yeah, that's the gas chamber. And then obviously all of us went, oh, we're guessing they must have just turned it on and got it ready for these pigs that were coming in.
Yeah.
So you could hear it, circulating. And then before long, you can hear these pigs, obviously being put onto the gas chamber. And then it would just be these screams. And then the sort of screams would die down as they got lowered down and through the other side. Then it would go quiet for a minute and then it would happen again. And then you could just hear it was this constant, like you're in a Saw film or something, this rusty grinding of this carousel and these screams from the pigs. It was horrendous to listen to. It was awful to listen to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just for people's context, gas chambers are like one of the most commonly used way to stun pigs. Happens in the United States, happens in Britain, happens all over the world. So yeah, I mean, you can watch Dominion, which was filmed mostly in Australia, so it's happening there. You can watch Pignorant, where Joey, installed the cameras and filmed this in the UK. And yeah, I can't remember, I know some friends of mine who had done investigations into gas chambers in California. So you can also see that. That's, I believe, stopgaschambers.org or .com. I'll put it in the link below so people can see that. But yeah, it's just horrific. I mean, and it's just, I mean, we talk about all these things, and we talk about the Holocaust that happened in Germany, and we're doing the same things to other animals right now, and it's just an ongoing thing. And I never wanted to be that person who would be like, oh, like the people who are just like kind of okay with what was happening,
Yeah.
or stayed quiet enough that it was able to take place. I don't want to be that guy. And
Yeah.
so we talked about this feeling of powerlessness that sometimes you can get, like when you're like, I can't take these pigs out, or they're being shipped on. But I feel like that's what they want us to feel. And like what I love is that you have realized I'm not weak, I'm powerful, and I can use my
Yeah.
voice. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned about the Holocaust. I've been to Auschwitz.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I went to Birkenau as well, which is the one where the big train comes in. You've got the train
Yeah.
carriages bringing everybody in. And yeah, when we went to the farm the first time, I actually mentioned it in the first video. And people hate it when you liken it to something like that. Oh, it's completely different, but it's not. It's really not. You're just, like Auschwitz, you're bringing people in on a train, you're taking them off the train, you're sticking them in there, you're gassing them to death, and that's it. It's as simple as that. And it's the same with the pigs. You're
Yeah.
bringing them in on a van, you're taking them in there, you're gassing them to death, and even worse afterwards, we're consuming them.
Right.
So it's got a whole nother level to it, really.
Yeah.
With what's going on at Birkenau and Auschwitz, I mean, these bodies were just being burnt, but after this, obviously, we're consuming
Right.
them.
Right.
But it brought that thought of Auschwitz into my head after we had left.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that in the first one about it, sort of about Auschwitz being liberated and how these animals, these beings have got no liberation. They're never going to be liberated. It's going to be a constant thing unless we do something about it.
Right.
Unless
Right.
we change, it's just going to be a constant cycle of torture and death.
Right, right. Which, like with the Nazis, their goal was to exterminate,
Yeah,
obviously. And
exactly. He
and
was trying to
our
get, yeah,
yeah, and what we're doing to animals is to perpetuate, to keep it going, just
yeah,
on and on and on and on.
yeah.
Yeah, just yeah. It's so well, big ups to you for going in there and doing this. Like it's incredible, honestly. It took bravery, courage, it took like kind of open-mindedness that is unique. And yeah, that's I'm really grateful to you for doing that. And
Yeah,
I
thank
know I
you.
speak for Chris and Mel and Steve, of course, too. That I'm sure they feel the same way, and they've expressed that to you. But yeah, you've got this now. You've got this powerful voice that you can use. Because I do think there is something about you too. There is just some sort of like genuine kindness that is going to be that it's going to serve you really well in doing your activism, and an understanding as someone who is so recently not vegan. You also have that like a understanding, and maybe your feelings towards non-vegans haven't become as hardened as they sometimes do when you've done activism for a while.
Yeah,
um
100%. Yeah, yeah. I mean, some of the things that people go through. I mean, Tasha, Australian Tasha, you know what I'm talking about.
yeah,
Tasha,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
You know,
Tesh
the things that
Peterson.
she, Peterson, sorry, yeah, I don't know where I'm just
Hmm.
coming from. Tasha Peterson, things that she's going through at the moment, you know, is absolutely horrendous. The way she's being treated,
Yeah.
and the way a lot of activists are treated. Um, I would love if my activism can bridge that gap, you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
and start to show that actually, you know, we we're not against you, we're on your side. We just don't want you to be lied to anymore, and it's for the
Hmm.
benefit of these beings, you know, because what we truly
Right.
care about is these beings. We
Yeah.
don't want them to go through what they're going through. We don't want you to be lied to anymore, because the longer you go in your life, you know, and eventually you find out the truth, like I have, you know, I've got to deal with the guilt of
Hmm.
all of those years that I didn't listen to my brother. All of those years
Hmm.
I didn't listen, and all of those years I could have made such a difference. I have to deal with that now. So I think it's, you know, if you're confronted like I'm confronted with things, you need to stop and look now for them,
Hmm.
because they need it now. It's not later. They need it now.
Right.
Steve, yeah, Steve, he taught me that. There is no later. It's now.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, because we don't know what the next moment's going to bring, and we only have this moment. It's a very cliche thing to say, but it's the truth. We only have this, which is why you also shouldn't spend too much time steeped in the guilt. Like I was
Mm,
34 when I went vegan, so I had 34 years of really like someone who did care about others and cared about justice and fairness and all that sort of thing, but just really hadn't given this a thought. And similarly to how the guys approached you, it was a very kind woman who was very gentle with me and just suggested that I watch Earthlings. And
yeah,
for me, that was what it took. Yeah. Um, and had she come at me with some sort of aggression, maybe I would have pushed her away instead.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, the guys were so supportive. They were so incredible with me, and they still are to this day.
yeah,
We
yeah,
still have the support group open. I can sort of message them whenever I want, and you know, talk about things. But the support they showed me through this is second to none. You know, just
right.
incredible. Yeah,
Yeah, shout out to all of them too, because also we're talking about this um like you having this sort of like special gift. I do think you have that, and I also think that is very much something that Chris has, and Mel and Steve as well. And with Mel and Steve, I see just like this insane like kind of like insane energy and passion.
yeah,
And Calvin as well. I don't want to overlook Calvin either,
yeah.
because he's such a part of this too.
Oh, he's incredible. I mean, he really is incredible. He's such an amazing person to talk to. His
Yeah.
photography as well. I mean, he really can capture, you know, the moments. Some of the pictures that he took within the farm. I mean, it took me right back there. You know, it was just incredible what he does.
Well,
Um, yeah,
during your podcast, he described this one photo that he took where the little baby piglet was
touching the
nose to
nose.
nose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And yeah, you can just go on his social, which I'll link below, and go check out that photo, because it is very powerful too to see
yeah,
just that there's this mother child bond that's happening that is restricted.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, she
awesome.
was so desperate to be near him as well.
Yeah,
You know, yeah, I mean, it was just, you can see the desperation in their eyes in there. You know, they can't tend to their babies really.
right,
Um,
right.
the baby is, they almost put the babies in a position where the babies just need to take from the mother.
Yeah.
Get the milk. That's pretty much it. They can't tend to them properly. They can't, give them the love that they deserve. It's yeah.
Yeah. This reminded me of a film that I have never recommended and I should be recommending more. It's this film called Gunda, Gunda. And yeah, I think it was like produced by Joaquin Phoenix or something. But anyway, it's this beautiful film that everybody should watch. And it just takes you onto a high welfare farm. And it just shows how the animals are interacting with each other. And then it almost lulls you into this sense of like peace. And then, as you can imagine, there's going to be a moment in the film that's going to hit you. And
send me the link to that. I'd like to see it.
yeah, I think that's like one that you might be able to see on Amazon Prime or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, just a beautiful film too. And yeah, and and again, sort of talking about what Chris was saying, that this is sort of like a standard, and here we are talking about like the best it can get. And one of our conversations pieces, me and Chris were talking about that video. He took Joey to that transparent slaughterhouse. I'm sure you're probably aware of that one. Yeah. And that was probably as good as a slaughterhouse can get. And you can just see it is a bloodbath, a horrific bloodbath, and it's about as good as it can be. Yeah.
It just can't be good, can it? It just can't be good. You can try to polish a turd, but you're not going to polish it.
Yeah, it's still gonna be that turd, right?
It's still gonna be that turd. We can make this lovely big screen that you can look through and watch these beautiful beings being hung up by the legs, and everybody's in these perfect white gowns, and it's all so cleanly.
Right.
What about the suffering? What about the suffering of them? It's you just can't make it good. You can't. There's nothing you can do to make it good.
Yeah.
You can make it clean as you like. Those animals are still going to suffer.
Yeah, exactly. Well, tell me about, I know you did some street outreach. Tell me how did that go? What did you think of that?
It was really interesting. And funnily enough, there was a lot of support, which I didn't expect. I was expecting a lot of confrontation. But there was actually a lot of support. There was a lot of people that were coming up and speaking to me, and within seconds they were saying, I actually really, really support what you do. And then there was the one girl, which I think you saw a clip of in the blog, and she was incredible. She was a vegetarian who was sort of debating on going vegan. But we actually made like an instant connection. I think the fact that I got to tell her my story and how new I was to it, she just seemed to really, really engage with me. And I came away from it buzzing, absolutely buzzing, thinking, oh my God, I think I might have just turned somebody vegan. It was like, I mean, I would love to be able to get into contact with her now and see, where she is after the conversation.
Yeah.
But I really felt like I was making a change. I was making a difference. And obviously it was a very short period. It was the first time I'd ever done that. But that's why I'd love to go and do it again. I really, I felt good about it. I really felt like I was putting across this message, the right message that people need to hear.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, this kind of work is, to me, really important, because not only you're creating hopefully vegans, and they're going to hopefully have impacts on the people around them too. It can create this ripple effect. And then they may also become these activists, doing the work as well. Because as you really took to right away, what was it about? So you went on these farms, the slaughterhouse, and you said, not only am I going to make this change, though, I'm going to do activism too. Why was it that so instantaneously you were like, even vegan is not enough for me?
The importance of it. It's literally the importance of it. I don't want to sit back and be quiet and carry on with my life, knowing that that's going on and that people don't know about it. I feel that people should know about it. I see why an industry like that should be allowed to hide behind closed doors. No, I think if everybody gets to see that, then eventually we're going to have enough people to say this is wrong, this needs to stop, you know, and it will stop. It was only recently a slaughterhouse was closed down up near Mel and Steve.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a recent one. I'm afraid to say I can't remember exactly where it was. I'm sure they could give you more details on it, you know. But that's what happens. That's what happens when you get enough people to stand up, you know. And I think it was that for me. It's just I want people to know the truth, and I want everyone to stand up and just say, no, this is wrong. This has to stop.
Yeah.
Even at a baseline, you know, I would be happy with the scenario that someone didn't go vegan but helped shut down a slaughterhouse. You know, that would be a minor triumph within this whole, you know, journey. It's, you know, that's where it needs to begin. You know, obviously I start with myself first, and then build up with that. But yeah, I'm just trying to, you know, spread the message really, and just tell people, you know, this is the truth. You should look. Don't just turn away. Look, have a look,
Right.
then see how you feel. You know, there's no judgment from me. You know, the only judgment I've got is for the people that allow these industries to exist. You know, you've just been lied to. You've been lied to and told that you need this meat, that you know, you've been shown the happy animals prancing around on this lovely farm. No, that's not what's happening. You need to see the real truth and then make a, you know, an educated decision for yourself. That's what I want to try and put across to people, you know.
Yeah. And I mean, as Chris has made this point too, that a lot of the people in these industries too are just similarly brainwashed into doing this.
100%.
Yeah.
They just think, well, the first thing they're going to think is this is a job, it's money.
Right.
But they got that whole we need meat. We have to have meat to survive.
Yeah.
But we don't.
And the person who's really making money off of this, you know, is not the person probably at the slaughterhouse. They're making like a minimal amount of money. So it's really going to be some guy in a suit sitting in some boardroom, you know, with his hands completely clean, who doesn't even have to wander into these places every day. Like you were mentioning, somebody has to. And those are the guys making all the money.
The head of the big corporations, you know, the ones, the big owners at the top.
Yeah. And I don't say that because I do think that we really should be taking personal responsibility, but for people like where to direct your anger. I mean, I'm just like, I mean, that's very potent. I think what you were saying, I don't want people to be lied to. Like, do you want to be like someone who's being lied to and being taken for a fool? Of course not.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah, they're selling you something that just isn't true. You know, and about you saying about the big boss at the top as well, you know, doing the dirty work as such. Or not doing the dirty work. He's got his minions to do the dirty work. Well, it kind of goes both ways, because if we are on the receiving end of that and we're the ones paying for it, then aren't we just the opposite side, getting them to do the dirty work as well? So if I want to eat a steak, well, then I'm going to use the minion over there to do my dirty work, to kill the animal, to provide me steak. Whilst he is sitting at the top saying, well, I'm going to use the minion there to kill the animal, to provide me one steak and money. You know,
exactly.
So it makes us equally as bad on both sides. We just, that's why we need to see the truth. We just need to see the truth of what's going on, what's happening here, and make the change, you know, make a difference.
Yeah. It's really, I guess, you know, even trying to add up culpability is probably just kind of missing the mark, I guess, because we're all part of this. You know, if we're partaking in it, then we're part of it. You know, if you're working at the slaughterhouse, you're part of it. If you're the CEO doing this, you're part of it. So yeah, I mean, we all have a role to play in this, and likewise, we all have a role in ending it, which is you know, starts with being vegan, but also can, you know, very quickly lead to activism, as you've proven.
Yeah. I mean, changing your diet, that's the baseline, isn't it? You know, stopping using animal products, that's the baseline, and that's the easy part.
Hmm.
And then after that, it's obviously you start to share the information, start to share what you've learned. The more people that can, hear about the truths that's going on behind these industries, the more changes we can make. And hopefully, before we know it, we've got a nice, happy world again, really,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
nice, happy, healthy, thriving world with no animals being tortured just for five
Right.
minutes of taste pleasure. It just doesn't.
Yeah. Imagine a world where we didn't harm animals and we had far lower rates of heart disease and cancer, and we had a climate that wasn't sending hurricanes up to us here in the mountains. And we just
Yeah.
imagine, it just sounds awful,
Starvation,
doesn't it, Colin?
starvation would starvation would essentially be over.
Yeah.
You know,
Just
we
horrible
could
dystopia.
rewild the world. There's just so many benefits to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, tell
So
me,
many benefits.
you mentioned having children. Tell me, how's the family dynamic with you having made this change?
Yeah, so that's a strange one. So obviously my son, he's really, really young, so he just doesn't understand. He
Hmm.
tries a lot of the food and things like that, but he's not an age to understand.
I
My
see. Yeah.
daughter's actually slightly older, and she has been amazing with it, absolutely amazing with it. Now,
Nice.
the way I work with her is that I don't force anything on her. She
Hmm.
can make her own decisions because I want her to come to her own conclusion as she grows. But I
Right.
do give her the necessary information to make, an educated decision as she grows.
Right.
But she's brilliant. She'll be like, oh, Daddy, I'm having mac and cheese, but I'm using the vegan cheese, and oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna get the vegan butter for this, and she's
Nice.
really she's starting to incorporate these things in, and
Hmm.
something that was quite this is like I thought this was actually quite amazing. We were at let's call it like a play cafe kind of
Hmm.
scenario the other day, and there's this little area there where you've got like a pirate ship boat, and they've got
Okay.
these little fake fish, and all the fishes are on the floor. And Madison's like, "Oh, we should go fishing to catch the fish." She goes, "Oh, but not real fishing. We're doing vegan fishing. So what we're going to do is we're going to catch them and we're going to save them and rescue them." And I just thought, incredible.
Nice.
Like this is
That's so
incredible.
beautiful.
Yeah, so we were catching these fish, taking them up. She was putting little bits of like quilts around them and stuff, and then we were sending them back off into the sea. And I thought, this is brilliant. This is like, on such a subconscious level, she's building this really amazing respect,
Yeah.
these animals. So yeah, on that level, it's been great. My wife as well, she's a non-vegan,
Hmm.
non-vegan.
Hmm.
But she basically everything she eats is vegan. Everything.
Ah.
I'm the cook of the house as such. So
Oh
she
yeah.
she is she's essentially 99.9% vegan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel that with time,
Yeah.
hopefully she will go fully down that road. But in the same respect, I will only give her the information and I treat it with
Hmm.
respect. And because I want her to make a real decision for herself.
Right. Right.
I don't want to
Yeah.
force her. I want her to see it for herself and make that decision because that's what's going to make her stronger. That's what's going to make her opinions on it stronger.
Hmm.
Never
Hmm.
know. Might have an activist out of her before we know it.
Yeah.
Never
Exactly.
know.
Well, I mean, it's like you said, if someone is sort of like feels like they're coerced into making a decision, then it's not a real decision. Then it won't stick, because
Yeah,
they're doing that. It's like I've dated people before who have told me something like, "Well, when I'm with you, I'll be vegan," and I'm like, "No, no, 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 that's
yeah,
not."
no, yeah.
So
I
I
want
had
you to
like
be vegan because you want to be vegan.
right,
Isn't
right,
it?
and
Because you
and
see why you should be vegan. That's
exactly,
that's that's the truth, isn't it? You can see it and you believe it and you want it. And that's where that person will make that true connection and really understand why we do
yeah.
this.
Yeah, I struggled with like my family for a long time. They were very supportive, but they
Mm,
weren't quite getting it. And we ended up having this really hard conversation at one point where we were like years into this, and I was like, look, you've got to watch Earthlings. I basically just demanded you watch
Yeah.
this film. So I was
Now.
demanding, yes. I was basically like, but similarly, I wasn't saying you go vegan. Obviously, I was saying that, but I was saying like you gotta take this information in, because you're making excuses for other people. You're sort of placing value of, like, family politeness over these animals and stuff. And I just really I was like, you guys are missing the mark a little bit, as beautiful and lovely as they have been. So that ended up working. Thankfully, I didn't get
Yeah.
disowned. And
Yeah.
yeah. And I think it really did make the difference in my family, because I would consider my mother to be vegan at this point.
Amazing.
And
That's amazing.
yeah, I know. And then, like, the rest of my family, I would consider like very, very plant-based, if
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
they
That's
understand now.
that's where I'm with my wife.
Yeah,
She is, she is basically fully plant-based.
right, right,
So it's just her taking that last step if she wants to, and
right.
it's, as much as I would love her to, and that
Mhm.
would be the ideal scenario, only if she makes that decision herself. You know, I think each individual person, like I was saying, they take it their own way, um,
Mhm.
and I can see such big changes in her already,
Yeah,
and I don't want to stifle that.
right.
I don't want to jump in front of a train that's moving and
Mhm,
stop
mhm.
it. I think
Yeah,
the way,
yeah, yeah,
do you know what I mean? The way it's working for her is working, and
yeah,
that's beneficial. So and I like, yeah, like I said, it's individual. You treat each person individually, and you work with them. Some people need to be told the hard way. Some people need a slap around the head. You know,
right, right,
um,
right.
and that's it's the people that don't treat it with respect. Those are the people that would get the Mel. Yeah,
Yeah, get the Mel.
you
Yeah.
get the Mel. Yeah, you're gonna get the Mel now.
Yeah.
Because as much as you know, as much as well, you don't respect it. That's the thing, isn't it? If you're going to be
Yeah,
someone that's going to sort of take the piss out of it, or
right.
that sort of scenario, then you're just a horrible person. I've got no qualms in telling you straight at that
Yeah.
point. But
Well,
there's
and,
good people, like
yeah, and a lot of those people who are doing the trolling are that's sort of a defense mechanism that they're employing. So
yeah,
they may actually be much closer than we believe. And yeah, giving it back hard to them, I don't see any problem with that. I think they
mm,
they need to get
yeah,
knocked in the head back if
yeah.
they're trying to
Some
not,
people just need
you know, and if
it.
they're trying to give it hard to Mel should be able to give it hard back to them. Yeah, exactly.
Hundred
So,
percent, 100%, yeah. But then you've got these lovely people that really respect it, and they're
mhm,
listening and they're trying to learn.
right.
Those are the ones, aren't they? Those are the ones to treat with the compassion and take it slow and just give them the right information and push them in the right
Mhm,
direction. But
yeah.
yeah, two different ways, isn't there? Some gentle push, some need a punch in the
Yeah.
head.
But with you and the family, I mean, like, it's going to be very obvious. Like, if it isn't already, I'm sure it's already very obvious. But your passion and your seriousness about the topic is just going to really come across to everybody else. It's like you said, even like, in your workplace where people are starting to drink the soy milk now, or the
Yeah,
oat milk. It's there. You're going to, your energy or whatever is going to radiate outward regardless of what you say. So, I mean,
yeah.
it's not going to turn everybody vegan, but it's going to make impacts here and there.
It's definitely making impacts. 100%. I mean, it's funny because sometimes I'll just sort and sit and be quiet and just listen to the dialect,
Mhm.
and you can hear people discussing, and they're talking about it. Oh yeah, yeah. Another one of my colleagues today, funnily enough, went and got a sandwich and came back, and they were like, "Oh, I went for the vegetarian option," and I just sort of
Mhm.
looked and just,
Yeah,
good,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
Yeah, you might not be vegan, but good. You're thinking, and that's,
yeah.
I'm not going to push, but you're thinking, and that's all I need you to do is start to think.
Sometimes I'll
Once,
overhear. Yeah, sometimes I'll overhear someone talking about, and they'll be like, "Yeah, I couldn't be vegan," or something like that, and then like I'll just like interject. I'll just be like, "Oh yeah, you guys talking about? Yeah, I've been vegan like 6, 7 years, something like that,"
Yeah.
and then they'll have to grapple with that, like
That's
because
it, yeah.
like
And then they're like, oh, well, okay. Oh, okay.
yeah,
Well, he's really healthy and like it's all good. Yeah. And
yeah,
that's how I kind of work with it. I just slip in little things here and there, and they go, oh yeah. And it's like, okay,
yeah,
I'll leave you to think now.
yeah, yeah. Including last night. So last night I was like really curious how I should handle this. So like I had reconnected with a friend from long ago. He's not vegan, and we went to this place that had good vegan options, and he's got his buddy there too, and his new wife. And so anyway, I'm just ordering vegan. I didn't say anything about veganism at all. So like it didn't come up, but I could tell that the guy next to me was like grappling with whether to ask me about that. So, but I was wondering, should I interject? Like, it's just like one of those
Yeah.
things you got to play to the dynamic of the room and whether or not. But I had to keep like, because the waitress brought the bread, and I'm like, oh, is the bread vegan? So like, they had to keep hearing like me asking
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
vegan or something. Yeah, but yeah, I imagine like he was thinking about it, but I don't know. It didn't get to that point.
I mean,
Yeah,
I find a lot of people are actually really intrigued. Like
yeah,
they are super intrigued. Um, And I think that's great. I mean, because that gives you such a good starting ground every single time. Because what I try to do, like you were saying there, I try not to say too much. They
hmm,
know I'm vegan, and I leave it for them to start asking me.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then when they start asking me, then I divulge a little bit to
hmm,
kind of, to get them. Okay, that kind of sounds right. And then I divulge a little bit more, and oh, well, that kind of sounds right. And they grow this sense of, well, hang on a second, because the things he's saying seem to be right. And all of a sudden, they want the dialect. They're
right,
going, oh, yeah, but what about this? And what about that? And what about this? And what about that? And then you're going, okay, now we're on to something now. Now
yeah,
I can start slowly weaning in the real hard truths. And
right, right,
it works
yeah,
well. It
it
works really
does. Yeah, I had a family gathering where like people were asking me, well, what about like eggs? What's wrong with eating eggs? That sort of thing. And that's when you can hit them with the macerating chicks and stuff. And
Yeah.
like,
Oh
yeah,
my God. Yeah.
yeah,
100%. Yeah. I showed a colleague with the maceration of the chicks, and she couldn't believe it. She was like, "Oh, why are they doing that?" And I was like, "Well, they don't need them. All
yeah,
male chicks, they don't need them, so they just churn them up." She couldn't believe it.
yeah,
She never
yeah,
never even knew that existed. And I was like,
yeah.
"Oh, there you go."
Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure before you watch like, Dominion or talk to Chris about it, I'm sure at that point you were ignorant of that too. And same,
Yeah.
like
There's so many things.
yeah, I was just insanely before watching Earthlings, I knew almost nothing about animal ag. And yeah, that's part of why I've had sort of that feeling of anger that I saw on your face in the farm is just because like I should have known this. I was a former journalist for a long time. Like if anyone should have known this, it should have been me. I also had a deep sense of like I said, of justice and fighting for the oppressed. And so I should have
Yeah.
been that person that knew this. I didn't know it. And that fills me with anger and also a little bit of like self-recrimination where I'm like,
Mm.
damn it, Jeremy, like why didn't you think you're eating an animal? Why didn't you think about that? But
Yeah.
I just
But then it also shows you how well they hide it, and
so well.
how indoctrinated we are.
Right,
You
right.
see, they've
Yeah,
hidden it so well, and for years and years and years, there's that slow trickle of indoctrination to tell you that it's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
yeah. We've all been victimized by it, and
Yeah,
that's where
100%. Yeah,
yeah, and that's where people like I think like you said that approach of like I don't want you to be lied to. I think most people can resonate with like, oh, well, somebody's lying to me. Hell no, I'm not going to deal
yeah,
with
I'm
that.
not having that. Yeah, if they're lying to
Yeah,
me, I'm going to stand up. Yeah, and yeah, I think it's a good avenue to go down. I mean,
right.
everybody wants to know the truth. So
Yeah, exactly.
that's how I learned is by knowing the truth.
Right.
Finally opening my eyes and taking that minute to listen, and all of a sudden, it's changed my world for the better, and changed the world for the animals for the better.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
it's yeah, yeah. It just takes that, doesn't it, sometimes.
So tell me, like, your brother is such a music fan. Are you
Yeah.
similar in that respect?
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
God. Yeah. We love all the same stuff, basically.
Oh, do
Yeah.
you? Nice.
Yeah. Ska punk and all that. Yeah. I mean, everything. He's more for the ska, but I
Uh-huh.
mean, we're both really eclectic, so we love all different types of music. I mean, I wouldn't say that I've got any specific genre that I will stick to.
Hmm.
I just love music, any types of music, all types of music.
Are you one of the few lucky ones who has been able to see his film?
I've seen snippets.
Snippets. Okay, gotcha.
Snippets. He's
Yeah.
shown me some parts. He's he's a bugger because I know Mel and Steve have had a peek.
They had. He told me
um,
that.
yeah, I know they have. Sneaky.
Yeah.
But he's shown me snippets. And yeah,
It's some good stuff, huh?
it's some
Yeah.
really good stuff. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I am extremely excited about this coming out. Yeah, I mean, it. Hurry up, get it out. You
Yeah,
know,
come on, Chris.
yeah,
I
it's gonna
felt
make a
bad. I
big.
took 2 hours of his time the other day. Should have been working. I should have
Get on with it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be watching that one later anyway. I haven't had a chance to watch it today.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
nice,
yeah, yeah.
nice. Yeah, yeah, that was a nice conversation. Similar to this, like, you and he are similar in that I feel like I could talk to y'all for, like, 10, 20 hours, and it would just go
Yeah,
on in a blink of an eye.
yeah.
Yeah. Are you also a musician yourself?
Yeah, I do a little bit. I mean, I used to do a lot more, but
Mhm.
I've got a little music room at home. I've got like a drum kit, bass guitar, guitars. I've got the whole setup basically.
Oh, nice. So you're, like, multi-talented, you do all the
I just like
instruments?
all of it. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Is there any
And
way people can find your music?
I haven't got anything up, but
Mhm.
I could put something up.
You should, you
I've
should.
got a couple of like I think maybe I've got like 2 or 3 recorded songs
Nice.
that I could put up, but I didn't go much further than that. I wasn't a musician like my brother.
Mm.
So I'd never been in a band, you know, like the band scenario like him.
Mhm.
I had like a small band with some friends when I was younger. We
Yeah.
tried to do a little um, Offspring tribute thing, but it never
Oh,
happened.
cool.
It never
Oh, nice.
happened. Yeah. I don't think we ever even did a gig. But yeah, always been into the music side of things. I love music, like you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I never went down the road like my brother did.
Well, I think, yeah, it'd be fascinating to hear those songs that you put together. Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
I
And
mean, I could even
yeah,
send them over to you, and you can listen to them. I'm sure I've got a way to send them over.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. But I mean, also, like, beyond me, like, I'm sure people would be interested to hear them on your social or whatever. That'd be
yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's always a bit nerve-wracking putting stuff like
Yeah,
that up.
yeah. Like, you feel like people are gonna judge you or something, especially if
I'm
it's
not so
something you
worried
made,
about
like
the judging of it. It's like because they're quite meaningful to me.
yeah.
When I used to make music, I used to treat it like a diary.
Mm, I see.
So yeah, so like I would make a song and yeah, I would play it to people and stuff, but it was more for me than anybody else.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, sometimes it's a bit like yeah, maybe sharing it out like that is sort of really like giving part of me, if you know what I mean.
I
So
see, I see.
it's quite daunting. It's like almost like sharing a diary, you know.
Right, right. Well, then no pressure, but yeah, if you
I
wanted to
might, I
send to
might well
me,
do
yeah,
it.
I'd love to hear it. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I can send you something over, definitely.
Yeah, that'd be
I'll
fun.
send you something over. If you tell me it's good enough, I'll post it. There we
Okay,
go.
that sounds good. I'll try to be honest, even though I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy that's gonna listen to somebody and be like, "Oh, you're shit." You know, like, I'm not that.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Stick to the
Yeah, I mean
activism, mate. That's terrible.
I just think, like, like, I've said this to several people, like, I think, Chris Cooney, the vegan zombie, and I were talking about just how, like, a lot of people in our movement have not really been that supportive of people following their passions. Like, we've been really quick to judge people when they've, like, tried something new, like music or something, and I'm like, "That's ridiculous." Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So we should always be supporting each other.
Yeah,
Um
100%, 100% in every avenue. Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you get into, like in your personal life? Like, I always ask people, like, what are some of the things they've drawn inspiration from? be they books, films, movies, that sort of thing. But even beyond activism and animal rights, like what are some of those things for you?
Yeah, the truth be told, right now, is my family.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. I mean, um, that's where I invest the majority of my time. Apart from work, it's just with my family.
Yeah.
Um, I'd be considered a bit of a hermit as such.
Mm,
You know, but all for a good cause. I mean, the only things obviously I'm interested in other than that is like the music side of things. Obviously,
hmm
becoming a vegan's been a nice change for me to sort of dive into something new.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really I'm very much just a family man. I'm a stay-at-home family man. Be there
hmm
for the kids, be there for the wife. Um, yeah, very simple, very simple.
Fatherhood, I imagine, I'm not a dad, but I assume that it's the pretty all-consuming of your life. So yeah,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
can understand that.
yeah, it is and it isn't. You still get plenty of time to do what you want to do.
Right,
There's
right,
there's time there. It's You almost don't want to do anything else really. You just kind of just want to
right.
be around. It's
Yeah, it's your
strange, hard
fam.
to explain. Yeah, but
Yeah,
you just
no.
want to be around. I'm quite content coming home, cracking a
hmm
beer, chat to the wife, chat to the kids,
Nice.
sit,
Yeah,
sit and watch a few documentaries, and kind of,
yeah.
just take it easy, really. Yeah, it's just a
That
nice,
sounds
easy, simple.
that sounds nice. What are some of your favorite bands that you like? I know
Oh,
that's a tough one.
no, I mean, I've got some, I mean, Incubus, one of my faves.
Oh, I heard them the other day for the first time in like a decade. I was like, I remember,
Oh
oh, this
man,
band I remember.
yeah, I love
Yeah,
Incubus.
yeah.
Deftones, System of a
Oh, yeah,
Down.
yeah.
Um, I mean that's some of my real top ones.
That's funny
Um,
because that's who I was listening to like in high school back in the day.
yeah,
All
yeah,
those
but
bands. Yeah.
I say that and I name those, but there's nothing stopping me from listening to a bit of Beyonce. So
Oh, yeah.
it depends. It depends what I'm feeling at the time.
Yeah.
Um, I a lot of my music I use like I play because of how I'm feeling.
Right, right.
So like my playlist on my phone and stuff, I'm very sort of like, I just sort of, how am I feeling right now? Okay, let's just jump through. And it could
Yeah.
be anything. It could be anything. It could be, Britney Spears to bloody Deftones. It
Yeah.
could, it could be
Yeah.
ska punk to hip hop. You just don't know. It could be absolutely anything. I just love all sorts of music, really.
Well, let me ask you because I haven't listened to Incubus in ages, but like I said, I was just sitting in a restaurant and one of their tracks came on. I was like, oh yeah, I remember loving Incubus. Have
Oh,
you followed like them? Because I looked them up and I saw that they put one out like in the 2020s sometime. Like, so they're still at it, it sounds like. Have you
yeah. So
listened?
they've just done a remake of Morning View, which is their first album.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
They've just done a full remake of that album. I haven't heard it yet, but they've done a full remake of the album, which are taken on tour.
Yeah.
Um, so they've kind of like they've changed parts and they've changed bits up. So
Oh,
if you want to look at anything, definitely look
yeah.
into that because that's the
Okay.
most recent. That's where they're at right now. Yeah.
Gotcha. But what
Yeah,
about some of their latest albums? Are they decent? Because I know like things change over decades, you know.
I don't think I ever heard an Incubus song that I didn't like.
Okay.
And
Nice.
I think this is the first album they've brought out in a long, long time.
Okay.
Um,
Gotcha.
I can't remember hearing a song I didn't like.
Yeah.
I
I
think they're
saw
just
them.
incredible throughout. I think you could play any of their songs. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, just brilliant, brilliant all the way through. Really, it's like System of the Down. I mean, I absolutely love System of the Down.
Yeah,
All of
which
their
you
stuff,
used.
yeah, all of their stuff's just incredible, and there's so much meaning to it, And
hmm
again, I don't think I've ever heard a song from them that I don't like.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well, I'll look into that because I wouldn't mind diving back into Incubus. And I did get to see them when I was young, and it was definitely one of the more high energy shows that I've seen, which
yeah.
was incredible. Yeah. Yeah, I
Oh,
still
they're
remember.
amazing. Well, just get the Morning View. Just start with the Morning View album again, and just build back
Yeah.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, you can't beat the Morning View album. That's probably
Yeah.
it's got to be the best one, really. But then there are some great tunes in the others, but we won't
Yeah.
divulge too much into that. But yeah, Morning View is still got to be number one, I'd say.
Yeah. All right.
Wow.
Well, that's definitely happening right after this interview. I'm gonna get that thing. Then, yeah, I'll be listening to that.
On to
Well,
the incubus.
yeah. Well, it's been so lovely chatting to you, Colin. Is there anything that we didn't get into? Like, because I actually, I'm so new to you, that I don't know you beyond these videos. So is there important things that we've missed?
No, I don't think so. I think that kind of covered everything, really. Yeah, where I'm at, I don't think there's anything. No, I don't think there's anything we didn't really go over.
Okay.
No,
Well,
great, great talking.
yeah,
Nice talking. Yeah.
it was a nice conversation. So yeah, people go check out that interview I did with Chris, Colin's brother as well. Because yeah, we talked about some of this stuff. Now it's interesting to hear it from your perspective. And yeah, and just a huge thank you. Like I don't want to belabor the point, but it is just incredible what you did. And such a great, honestly, even just from like Mel and Steve and Chris's perspective, it's great content. It's great for people to see this, like
Yeah.
for someone to go into a farm and have this life-changing experience in that way. So thanks for being open to it and humble and brave, because that's what it took. It took all that,
Yeah,
all
thank
good
you. Thank
qualities.
you. I mean, I put my thanks out to them. I put,
Hmm.
for bearing with me and, giving me the confidence to go and do it. And obviously the support that they've shown me, as again, it's been second to none, really. They're like a little family to me now, really,
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
all my thanks goes to them.
Yeah, and I imagine you'll feel this, but like you've sort of been in the trenches with someone, and like you're gonna hold those people that you've been in the trenches with, like regardless of where your life takes you, where their life takes you, you will always have been in that kind of high intensity moment with them, which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
amazing.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I absolutely love the guys, man. I've got so much love for them all and
Hmm.
everything that they do, and it's obviously it's bonded me and my brother even more.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's just the whole experience has just been incredible, really. Even this, meeting you tonight and
Yeah.
doing this,
Yeah. It's fun.
it's incredible. I would have never have imagined that I would be doing this. So it's
Right. Right.
the whole experience has just been incredible. Yeah, and I'm just blessed and happy to be a part of it, really.
Yeah. Well, I'll link to your Instagram, I know, but are there other ways that you want people to follow you? Or first I should ask if you want people to follow you on Instagram as
Yeah,
well.
no, yeah,
Yeah.
follow
Okay.
me on Instagram. Absolutely. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
definitely, obviously I'm trying to, I post as much as I can, and yeah,
Yeah.
100% come and follow me, and
Yeah.
if you want to chat, message me, and
Yeah.
and if
Yeah.
you've got questions, anything like that, I will I'm
Yeah.
happily divulge.
Especially, I mean, well, if you're a vegan or not, but like especially if you're like a non-vegan and you're curious about this experience, like Colin's obviously very open to talking about it. And
Yeah,
yeah.
come and have a chat. Come and have a chat. I've got no qualms at all. Any questions you want to ask me, yeah, drop me a message. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Colin, so great talking to you. And yeah, thanks for all the work. And I'm really excited to see where you take it next. And I
Handsome, my
heard
man.
you said you had this plan, so I'm excited to see this plan come to
Yeah,
fruition.
yeah. Chris knows about it. Chris, don't tell anyone.
Okay. All right, Chris. Yeah. Well, and you're always welcome back on my program. I know it's a small one so far, but hopefully it'll grow over time. And but anytime you want to chat about things, like you're always welcome here.
Yeah, no problem at all, my man. No problem, mates. And vice versa. Vice versa.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Take
Legend,
care,
my
Chris.
man.
I mean, it's
Thank
Colin. Sorry.
No,
Just
well, they always when they want to call me Chris, that's fine.
yeah. All right. Thanks, Colin. Such a pleasure.
No problem, my man.